Reporting to the media this week at Post-Executive Council Media Briefing is the Chief Secretary, Orville London.
I want to personally congratulate the people of Tobago for their strong response to the request to join us at the Signal Hill Senior Comprehensive School as we climaxed one phase of this present phase for the internal self-government for Tobago, or self-government for Tobago. I was quite heartened by the turnout, but not only the numbers, but the level of enthusiasm and excitement and passion that would have been generated at that meeting. And I just want to clear the air on a couple of issues. At that meeting, I think anybody who was there would know that we'll have had somewhere in the vicinity of 500 people. And I want to put that in context because as far as I'm aware, in recent memory, that's the largest number of Tobagonians that have ever gathered in one place to discuss serious legislative and constitutional issues pertaining to Tobago. And I also want us to understand that what happened on Sunday climaxed a 4-month exercise that took us to 15 venues in Tobago, 1 venue in Trinidad, and also allowed us to interface with close to 2,000 persons in that particular exercise. I think it is a highly representative process, a process in which Tobagonians and Trinidadians were involved, and I think the process is extremely credible. I also want to reiterate, maybe for the 10th time, that what was discussed throughout this exercise and what was confirmed on Sunday is that Tobagonians do not want secession. Tobagonians do not want separation. Tobagonians are committed to a united and strong sovereign democratic state of Trinidad and Tobago. But Tobagonians are saying that in that sovereign democratic state, their right to self-determination must be settled once and for all. And we must bring some closure to this 37-year-old struggle in which we have been engaged, and at least 2 generations of Tobagonians have been engaged. The next step is that on Thursday, the leaders and the assembly will have been mandated to determine the way forward. We will meet on Thursday and decide on the strategy towards, one, translating those demands. I've heard people say that Tobagonians, we have not indicated. This is far from the truth. Tobagonians have been very clear, and this has been articulated time and time again. What we would have done is to get those demands, and then we have a responsibility to determine how those demands should be translated into a format that will allow for these demands to be met. So that committee is going to meet tomorrow and continue meeting and strategizing and taking these decisions that would eventually lead to maybe a document, whether it's in the form of a bill or what. I don't want to preempt the committee. And then what is to be done with that document will be determined and, of course, reported back to the people of Tobago. So once again, let me congratulate the Secretariat. These 3 ladies have worked extremely hard, and I think that they deserve our commendation. I want to especially commend, not just because they're represented here, the information unit. Our information unit will have been there at every one of these meetings, recording and transmitting and making tapes, etc. And of course, I want to also commend the press for conducting their task with a great degree of professionalism. Up to now, I don't know which side any of you on, so maybe that is a good indication of how professional you have been. Secondly, At today's Executive Council meeting, we started our preparation for what I will consider the Tobago budget process. As you're aware, we had a budget presentation in late June, and it is that budget presentation that will have provided us with the information to enable us to take our requests to the Minister of Finance. Invariably, and that is part of the process, invariably, the Minister of Finance would not have responded to all of the requests. In fact, in some cases, he didn't respond to many of the requests. In the case of our development budget, we'd have only got 16% of what was requested. But as any responsible administration, and maybe any responsible head of a family, if you have a family, even though you're not satisfied with your remuneration package, you still have a responsibility to take care of your family with whatsoever you have. And therefore, while we, argue and make a case for a greater allocation, we have a responsibility to determine how best we can deliver to the people of Tobago for whom we are responsible. And that exercise is on the way. And what we have decided is that we will have another budget presentation at next month's plenary sitting of the Assembly, where the Secretary of Finance will again, this time using the actual allocations and reporting on the various strategies and giving Tobagonians a clear indication of what they can expect from this administration in the next fiscal year. Of course, placing it into the general policy framework and the vision of the Assembly for the people of Tobago. We are now in a process where the divisions are now looking at the allocations and then determining their priorities. And I want the people of Tobago to understand that just as in a family, we are going to have challenges. And quite interestingly, the challenges oftentimes are not about what you can deliver, as in any family. The challenges are more so about what you cannot deliver. And therefore, we will have to make choices and we will have to make decisions. And these decisions would have been influenced by the discussions which we have had with the communities. Remember, we have been involved in our community meetings. Secretary Jack would have been involved in meetings with the various sectors, and we will try in the ensuing weeks to glean from the community what some of their priorities are in a situation where we've had limited funding. We'll also be reporting on the strategies that we're going to be using to make up for the shortfall. And of course, the whole question of the public-private partnership, the relationship between the Tobago House of Assembly and the private sector in the development process. Those strategies would in fact be revealed. One aspect of the budget that I want concern about the budget that I must share is the statement made by the minister that a marina will be constructed at Pitichu. I think I need to put that in context. Now, as you're aware, the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Finance and the Tobago House of Assembly have a good relationship, good professional relationship, a relationship based on mutual trust. And we meet and we talk, and in fact, this time around we spoke with both the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Planning, and where we were able to share our plans, our projections, provide them with the documentation, etc. And they were also able to share with us. So it came as something of a surprise to us when we were almost blindsided by this announcement. First time we've heard it, despite the fact that we've been meeting with that we met with the ministers about a marina at Pitichu. All of us accept that Tobago must have at least one marina, and all of us know the advantages. But I'll tell you why I consider this strange and a little troubling. The government of Trinidad and Tobago, some years ago, set up a yacht steering committee on which the Tobago House of Assembly is represented. And one of the things that that steering committee did was to conduct a pre-feasibility study for marina sites in Trinidad and in Tobago. And they would have engaged a consultant called Mr. Colin Barkant to produce a report on the identification of a preferred marina site for Tobago. And what he would have done with his team is to go around Tobago, looking at the sites with respect to an evaluation matrix, which included proximity to people services, proximity to vessel support services, proximity to yacht traffic, proximity to transportation, navigability, proximity to tourist infrastructure, safe harbor, marine cost, carrying capacity, available land space, additional land space, environmental impact and mitigation, land ownership, etc. And coming out of that, there were 3 sites that were shortlisted. Well, let me put it differently. 9 sites were shortlisted for consideration of all the sites. And among them would have been Kings Bay, Corland, Boko, Swallows, Friendship, Canoe Bay, and so on. Pitichu did not make the shortlist of 9. So we find it very strange that a report commissioned by a committee set up by the government should have shortlisted 9 sites in Tobago. And the Minister of Finance will tell us about the construction of a marina on a site which is not shortlisted. And there is no paper trail, there is no information, there is no consultation. I want to reiterate that we are highly supportive of a marina, at least one marina, maybe more, to be constructed in Tobago. And we have, in fact, been in contact with a number of firms, a number of companies which have provided us with information as to what are the best methods for construction, etc. We have always collaborated with the central government through the Yacht Steering Committee with respect to the identification of sites in Tobago. And therefore it's quite disappointing that in light of all of this, that we should be blindsided in this manner. And we intend to take up the issue because this is not a time for confrontation. It is a time to put the facts on the table and ensure that we come up with the right way to do things. And that is not the right way to do things. And we're going to have it investigated, but we're going to ensure that we do what is necessary to give Tobago the marina for which it has been asking for the longest while. While we're on the subject of consultation, I received an invitation to a board meeting of the Port Authority Board, a meeting of the Port Authority Board to be held in Tobago on Friday. And I have accepted the invitation because, as you know, I have been clamoring for THA representation on the boards of the Port Authority, the Airport Authority, and Caribbean Airlines for the longest while. And I want to just repeat that this is the first administration for a very, very long time, a couple decades, where the Tobago House of Assembly was not represented on the Port Authority Board and the Airport Authority. But I think that I should not pass, despite my concerns and my disappointment and my disagreement with the policy of exclusion, I thought I should take the opportunity to at least interface with the board of the Port Authority and share with them some of the concerns. Among the concerns which I will obviously raise is the question of predictability on travel on the air bridge, and what is the reason for that? Is it a booking problem? Is it a problem of the number of trips made by the ferry? there must be reasons why, especially in the peak season, there is so much confusion and so much, distress experienced by commuters. Secondly, the question of the port and security. At our meeting with the Minister of National Security, it was identified that one of the weak points in the whole security chain is, of course, the security on the sea bridge. And we get the impression that the port, when you look at the fact that they don't have adequate equipment, they do not have adequate manpower, I'm not certain what the mindset is. You get the feeling that security is not a priority where the Port Authority is concerned, and therefore, regardless of what the police officers might do or what the police service might do, you could have a situation where the weaknesses on the sea bridge make it or frustrate the efforts of the police service in bringing the level of security which we are demanding in Tobago. So that I am going to take the opportunity to look at that meeting. The question of payment of arrears to daily paid workers. As you know, there are thousands of daily paid workers in Tobago. And I just want to explain that in order for someone to be paid daily rated workers, there has to be a process. The payment has to be tabulated. And then that is where the difficult part comes in. Each of these sheets has to be audited. And there has been a problem with having all the sheets audited. However, a significant number of the pay sheets have been prepared and audited. Money is available, and my information from the Chief Administrator is that he will give instructions that those pay sheets that are available, that are ready, that the individual should be paid. And that will mean that a significant percentage of the daily rated workers will receive their arrears within a short time. Because we come into the end of the financial year, there might be some challenges, but we expect that those challenges will be worked out very soon, and within a couple of weeks, the rest of them will be paid. But the commitment is there. The process has started. Persons are working overtime in some cases. But when you have to audit thousands of daily rated workers, it does create a problem. I'm happy to announce that work on the Dwight York track has been completed. In fact, the track has now got IAAF certification. My information from the Secretary of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, that it is a Class 2 certification. And a Class 2 certification is the second highest level possible. The only level above that is the tracks on which they'll host the Olympics, the World Championships, and the Commonwealth Games. And I have been informed that the track is at a level where Diamond League events can in fact be hosted. And I want the people of Tobago to share in this, because it was completed at a cost of $14 million, all of which came from the Tobago House of Assembly. Because the Tobago House of Assembly, although the de jure situation is that facility is under the Ministry of Sport and run primarily by the sport company, we recognize that, or we were informed by the sport company, that they did not have the necessary funding, and we recognize that it was not a priority of the Ministry of Sport at that point in time. So we had to take the responsibility, because we recognize the very damaging effects it was having on the development of our athletes in Tobago, and we took on that. It was project managed by the sport company, but funded entirely by the Tobago House of Assembly. One of the things that we'll have to look at is the overhaul of the main pavilion, and my information is that discussions going on with the sport company. There's two more announcements. The Division of Community Development and Culture, they're going to be delivering some of their projects over the next 3 or so weeks. At 6 p.m. next Thursday, the Plymouth Y Zone would be opened. And then the following Thursday on the 2nd, the Bethesda Community Center will be opened. And then the following Thursday on the 9th of October, the Mason Hall Y Zone will be opened. And the last two, based on the information I have, the start time will be 5 p.m. But next week, the start time is 6 p.m. So 6 p.m. next Thursday, Plymouth, 5 p.m. on the 2nd, Bethesda, and 5 p.m. on the 9th of October, Thursday, Mason Hall Y Zone, Bethesda Community Center. And of course, you're all invited to our Republic Day celebrations, annual Republic Day celebrations. We move everything up to Roxborough, full day of activities, including sporting events, and climaxing with a cultural show and fireworks. And it's always nice to hear people compare fireworks at Roxborough and fireworks at Scarborough to see which one was more spectacular.
The self-governance process, is there, who is going to be funding the whole process? Because there's going to be obviously a team of lawyers and stuff involved in taking this forward. But would the THA be funding this, or is it by private people?
No. It's Tobago People's Business. In fact, there's a line item in the budget dealing with the whole question of legislative reform, and therefore most of the funding would be coming from the Tobago House of Assembly.
With respect to the Petitchou Marina, you indicated that you all intend to take up with the issue. What does that statement really mean?
Well, in other words, because I think you know how we operate. We try to focus on dialogue. And as I said, we have a good relationship with the minister, and therefore we're going to ask for an explanation, because at the end of the day, we want to be able to ensure that Tobago does have a marina. But in a situation where it is so important to us, we are saying that it must be the right type of marina in the right place.
I know we questioned you and we asked you in terms of the Prime Minister if you think that the government will listen. But we're going into another election year, just like the last Tobago House of Assembly elections. Do you foresee that this issue of Tobago self-government will be classed as or be used as a political football again?
I don't know if I would say be used as a political football. I think it will be. I mean, I'll be disingenuous if I didn't tell you that I believe it will be an election issue. It may be the election issue, I do not know, but it's obviously going to be an election issue. But that is if it's not resolved before that. There is no reason why this issue, one way that this doesn't have to become an election issue is if it is resolved before the election. And this is what we're hoping, so, right? Okay. But because you see, I must repeat that there is nothing that is being said now, or let me put it differently. Most of what is being said now has been said by all the political parties in this country, all. And that is why, you know, I tell people that there's a significant difference between what is happening in Tobago and Trinidad and what is happening in the United Kingdom with respect to Scotland. Two reasons. Scotland wants independence. Tobago wants self-government. Scotland wants to break away from the United Kingdom. Tobago wants to remain in the sovereign democratic state of Trinidad and Tobago. The other significant difference is that whereas United Kingdom wants Scotland to stay and Scotland wants to, parts of Scotland or some people in Scotland want to go, in the Tobago context, all parties in Trinidad and in Tobago have said, we want self-government for Tobago. And that is why I'm saying that it should not take too much. All it takes is a certain degree of honesty, a certain degree of professionalism, a certain degree of love for Ireland and country rather than just loyalty to party, and I think we could get over the hurdles. And that is the reason why we put forward the recommendation that let us do it all together. Because all of us have been saying more or less the same thing, but we've been saying it at different times. We've been talking at each other rather than to each other. Let's do it differently this time. Let's all talk with one voice. That's all we say. And that's why I'm saying that there is a possibility that if we do it right, it might not even be an election issue. It can be resolved before an election.
My question is regarding the A&R Robinson Library in Castara. Mm-hmm. So you have any update as to what is going on right now in terms of when would it start? What is on the...
Well, I think what has happened there, I think there are 2 or 3 organizations involved in what exactly should be the project. Just for the information of those who might not be aware, there was a committee in Castara which had fairly complete plans with respect to a tribute to A&R Robinson. Then there was a national committee with regional and international connections, which would have requested some land from the Tobago House of Assembly, which it received, for an even more elaborate construct. After Mr. Robinson died, and the Tobago House of Assembly, as I said, is supportive of both initiatives, I would have met with representatives, well, spoken over the phone with one and met personally with representatives of another of the organizations. And what I recommended to them is that let us marry the 2 things, the two initiatives, because funding for the more elaborate proposal is not going to be accessed in the shortest possible time, all the funding. So if you could agree, well, listen, this is what we want to do. This is the first phase. The Tobago House of Assembly will collaborate with both organizations to do the first phase. There has been agreement. I now have the responsibility to try to pull the 2 groups together and see what can be done, because it is an initiative that, you know, it's a no context and no disagreement initiative. But I think I have to take some responsibility, because I am the one who has to pull both groups together and start the process.
Thank you for tuning in to another Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council media briefing for the week ending September 20th, 2014.